Hello, I'm Reggie Turner, and I'm here with Terrence Moore and Jim Miller. The Flip Side starts right now. Welcome to the show. If you haven't been to Williamsport lately, you should go. There's a lot going on, and Williamsport's Mayor, Bill Green, is here to talk about it. Welcome to the show, Mayor Green.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
So first and foremost, Mayor, tell us a little bit about yourself before we jump into all the wonderful things that are happening in Williamsport.
Not much to tell. I'm just the mayor of Williamsport. That's it.
But you have a business, right?
I do. I'm a herpetologist by trade. So
Okay, which
I do breed exotic pets, reptiles,
Okay.
snakes, tortoises, lizards, those type of things. So I was doing that before I joined council and ran for mayor.
Wow.
Nice. So you were part of council, you ran for mayor, and then you were
Ran for
reelected.
mayor again, yes.
And how
Ran
long
for
have you lived in
re-election.
Williamsport?
My whole life.
Wow.
You know,
Interesting.
So a wildcat.
I am.
And
River rat.
River rat, exactly. Exactly. I was so upset when the middle school changed the
I think we all were. Yeah.
the logo, but I get it. Political correctness. So what led you to run for mayor?
Just disagreed with some of the things that were going on. I felt more time needed to be spent on the town, not so much things around it, and
Okay.
felt that we could do both, do the town and everything around it, which we've successfully done. It's been a real busy past 4 years. The next 4 look just as busy, so it's been nice.
Oh, that's good.
And it keeps going.
So what are some of the highlights on your agenda for the next 4 years for the town?
Oh, the highlights would be the wish list or the highlights?
Let's go with your wish list
the,
first.
the wish list? Oh, I would like to see the Route 11 bridge relocated. I would like to annex in a few areas around and bring them into the town, and make our town grow a little bit bigger. I'd like to see a lot more businesses come in.
Gotcha.
You guys are kind of ahead of the curve, as well as out here in Western Maryland, of cities that kind of found an identity and kind of focused on it, ran with it, and brought in businesses, developed businesses. What sparked that?
I think a lot of that is with the canal, working together with them, finding out, we've stayed there, we know our history, and we're proud of the history we have. But having the canal right there beside you makes it so much easier to keep moving forward. Where a lot of people, it's a destination. People from all over the country come to Williamsport basically to see the canal, but then once they're there, they fall in love with the town and everybody in it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a city boy, originally from New York City, and one of the things, when I first was introduced to the canal, it just looked like an amazing resource. You have bikers, you have runners, you have paddle boats, you had fishing, all in one little location. It was kind of something like you've seen on television, from a city boy perspective as well. And to capitalize on that, how's growth looking in that area?
Well, we knew when finally the Park Service headquarters was put there, and it was a struggle on its own, but we knew once all that would happen that it would come like a tidal wave. So it's been very fast. The faces are changing. People are buying properties. Things are getting fixed and done, and trying to move with it, but keep that pace so we don't lose the integrity of the town at the same time we're doing it. It's been nice. It's been interesting.
I go to the barber shop that's right there on Main Street, and I got to tell you, from month to month, I'll see a difference.
Yeah.
In fact, I saw somebody just did some major facade renovations to the one building, and it looks like they're trying to attract some businesses, which would be great.
Right.
A restaurant or something, or whatever. But it's really kind of cool. And I've lived in Williamsport my entire life as well, in the outskirts, in the Tammany area. But it's really kind of cool from month to month to see just a consistent. It's not. I don't see a breakneck pace. It probably is behind the scenes, but just to see these little things that are visible changes happening along the way, and seeing that month after month after month, that's very good for people, I think, to see that in our town.
It is. It's been amazing because some groups have come in. They've bought some properties. They've started revamping them, fixing them. Businesses are looking at them, and it's almost like a rejuvenation of what was there at one time. And it's just, Williamsport's just been, it's an amazing place to be at right now. To watch it from my level, from what I remember as a kid, like you were saying, to see where we're heading now has just been, it's quite the journey that we're on.
Now, you talked about annexation. Is there, are there any, and not trying to get you to tell us any secrets, but are there any areas that have expressed interest in being annexed, or
Yes,
that you're okay?
we have a few areas that have expressed interest into annexing.
Is that as tedious a process as I imagine it would be?
Yeah. It really is slow. Everything in government's slow to begin with. But, you know, part of this is we have, I don't know if you've ever seen our town limits, but, you know, like one side of Virginia Avenue going through town as you get up towards Exxon is in town, the other side's not. You know, and then you go out, then it goes around this way. And we have these areas, it just makes no sense why they're not in town, like the graveyard by Springfield and Grove Avenue are not in Williamsport. And it's like, they should be. So those are the areas we've been looking at as a council for about 3 years with we need, and you know, we're caught by the river and the creek.
Right.
You know, so the only growth we have would be, you know, fixing our boundaries and going out that way.
What is the benefit to those that live or own a property that may be annexed? What is the benefit to that property owner, to that homeowner of annexation?
Right, because a lot of people talk about double taxation because
Right.
county tax and town tax. It's
Which
not
really
really
does
double.
No, it's not, because
No.
the county tax is lower.
Right, and it lowers up, and then you kind of make it up on our end.
Exactly.
Right where it was. Besides, you know, your garbage pickup every month, you know, is an unbelievable low cost. I believe it's like $13.75 a month for garbage, and that includes one bulk pickup a month, which is your couches, refrigerators, things like that. You can't even take a couch to the dump for $13.
No, you can't.
You know, you have that, the police protection, because we have the resident deputy program that's in there. We have that, and you get a great mayor, you know.
There you go.
All kinds
You
of
know,
good
man,
stuff, and you get
there's-
me, right?
Yeah, and your electric's lower. We do have one of the lowest electric rates, and we do well. If the power goes out, we're there, it's on. You know, in the county, sometimes they wait hours. You know, Williamsport's usually right on it. Water breaks, we're right on it. So we work pretty good.
So what's your relationship with the business community? How does that work out?
Well, so far it's been pretty nice. It's worked out well. You know, we as being a business owner at one time in the town, to now I'm outside of town with the business, but getting along with the businesses, there's sometimes you feel like you need to do more for them.
Okay.
Sometimes they feel you need to do more, and then sometimes I get ridiculed for doing too much. And then I have some that, you know, I can't get to every business and I don't shop every business. So I take a little bit of slack for that, you know, but we do the best we can to communicate nicely with them. We have a grand opening right now tonight at 6 o'clock with a detailing shop that just opened up in the Dollar General building.
Really?
Yeah, so
Like
that's
a
this
car
evening.
detailing?
A car
or-
detailer, yeah.
Interesting.
Hmm. So that's pretty nice.
And and they're in the Dollar General building.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
One of the things from my perspective, and I was sharing a little bit with you off camera, I'm in Leadership Maryland, this class of Leadership Maryland, so, you know, over 50 leaders from around the state, we visited the canal, and it was interesting to hear all the folks that are talking about making a return trip and how quaint of a town it was and the different things that they enjoyed and more they wanted to learn and to be able to bring their family. So, you know, I see that as a testament of the hard work that you've done, and it was just heartwarming to hear other people around the state value these assets that we have within our county.
The canal is phenomenal on its own, just to have that in your backyard, like you were saying. It's just amazing. You know, I come from, I guess, being spoiled and waking up every morning. I enjoyed that stuff my entire life.
Right.
You know, and a lot of times when you see it every day, you don't really see it for what it is. But I believe a lot of the residents in Williamsport, we all know how valuable that is. We've said a million times it's a treasure. And then, you know, you look at ways like, why would you come back just to see the canal and things of that nature? But there's also a mansion house and one of the oldest distilleries in America sits in Williamsport. And we're trying to acquire that also as to add to our Barron Park and our Springfield Farm area. So to give, there's so much rich history there that it is fantastic.
So how are your constituents feeling about the implants that may be coming into town and kind of holding on to that tradition?
That's you know, with everything, people can change. You know, you get you have some people are very open to things changing and moving forward, and the people coming in, and you get a little bit of rebuttal from others, like you're changing. That's what I mean by keeping the integrity of the town, because we do have that. I remember a lady saying she didn't feel safe walking the sheets. So when we delved into why would you not feel safe walking the sheets with your daughter, it was because the street wasn't lit well enough. So we changed lights out to brighter UVs. And, you know, public safety, when people start feeling safe walking, then they start viewing everybody coming in a little bit differently. So there's not so many, it's more open and bright, you know, and we just did some more potted plants. They were trees, actually, limelight trees, down through the main street of town and things with that. And people see those little changes and they're like, oh, well, that's because.
But would you agree, and this is a theory of mine, this is not, I have no factual basis to state this, but I believe that positive investment, positive growth in a community will drive out the
negative. It does.
The negative that you don't want
It
in
does.
the town.
That's-
People don't, those kind of people, criminals don't want to be in a well-populated, vibrant area. They want to
And-
go off in the corner and do what they do. And
When we changed to these really bright lights, these LED, I mean, they're massive street lights now. I do remember a person coming up to me and I was called names because all of a sudden in front of his house he had one of these lights.
right.
Wasn't good for business, you know. So you have that, and it kind of drives that away, and we get that a lot. I rely every month when we put out a newsletter, we ask people, you know, if you see something, say something. We try to keep it as community oriented as you can because at one time, Williamsport, I remember growing up, my neighbor, Mrs. Martin, used to bring me raspberry pies every summer, and that was just a nice gesture, and it felt nice. So still trying to keep that same. These are your neighbors. These are, you know. We all fish together, so if somebody new comes into the town, it's okay. They can fish too. You know?
Now, COVID, of course, hit everyone pretty hard,
Yes.
especially small businesses.
Yeah.
But again, you know, the luck of the draw is that parks and got huge amount of foot traffic during COVID. People got out more, hiking trails, people walking canals. So again, ahead of the curve and having that great opportunity, is that something you're trying to build upon? How do you get those people to stick once, you know, it gets back to a more businesses where you can be indoors a little bit more?
Yeah. When COVID hit, you know, the park down there that we had, the canal, was the growth in that. I believe. I mean, somebody said something. I said it was like, I think they said 170, 180,000 people just through Williamsport.
Right.
That's not the entire. I think it was like over 1 million through the entire section. But just our area was like 170,000 people. And that's what came up, is how do you keep these people here to come back? And that's when we started talking about bringing in the mansion house, the distillery, give you something else to look at, something else to come there for. How do you get them to stick around? I told them it's really nice because the people are friendly, you know, and when you are new in town, everything, you can walk up, you know, and they help you with just about everything. And I get that a lot. There's a few people that are new to town. And the reason they fell in love with town is they like the older homes. They liked meeting the people, and they liked how open it was, and it's like a little Mayberry type setting almost, you know.
It's a real walkable community as
It
well.
is.
So you can
Yeah.
walk the trail, but you feel like you want to kind of meander into town and get an ice cream or you know, grab something to eat.
Yeah,
So-
you do, because when you're down there like at the canal and you look up at some spots, you can see the clock tower.
Yeah.
You know, and some of those things and those views, they're inviting, especially if you get up into our cemetery. That, you know, it's some of the best views out there are from the top of Doubleday Hill. And it does bring people up into town, and you know, we don't have as much to offer in the downtown as we're trying to get. It's like, well, it's coming. You know, it just takes time. If we could have had that stuff 2 years ago and those businesses already there and running, then it would be just what we want. So we got to wait the next 2 years out. And
But the
the ice cream
reality
shops.
is, and that's why I'm so excited about, as a resident of not the town of Williamsport, but close.
we'll get you. You're in town.
Am I on the list?
You know.
My point, though, is that you know, the things you're doing, more frequent events, these food trucks, however small that may be. I mean, truly, I'm incented this week to go out and try the food that's out on the food truck because your marketing person posted some pictures of the menu, and I'm like, wow, that looks really good.
Yeah.
And I think at some point, you know, there's a point of stickiness. There's also a point of repetitive and getting people in a habit to, you know, it's a summer Friday night. What are we going to do? Hey, let's go to Williamsport. And one of the statistics that I found interesting, of 1.3 million visitors that the National Park Service suggests goes through. The interesting thing is 1 in 4 of those are from greater than 50 miles from here. And the fact that we're bringing these people into the community and potentially capturing certainly their revenue, but also their hearts and minds about the benefits of Washington County, the benefits of Williamsport, I think that's a very positive thing.
It is. It is. We get so many visitors that come from other areas, and a lot of times when you're there, like we bring up I've sat and had conversations where I'll bring up Antietam Battlefield, I bring up the town of Sharpsburg, Clear Spring. I mean, we talk about the entire area together as one big group. So it's like, well, while you're here, if you like that, you'll love this area. You know, you should go check out South Mountain area, you know, and things like that. The Appalachian Trail runs through, you know. It's like there's so much Washington County has. You know, I have a friend, I won't mention names or nothing, but he drives around and takes pictures all the time of everything in the area, and he's constantly posting it. And it's like, yeah, it's your backyard. I mean, when I did live in Florida for a little while, and the big city, you know, down off of OBT, and you know, it was nice, but it wasn't home. So coming back to here was like, yeah, this is where we belong. Yeah.
Now, one of the things you mentioned a little earlier, I want to piggyback off. You talked about the cemetery, and obviously we saw in the newspaper that you had an incident of violence there. Can you tell us about that?
Well, you know, over the years, our cemetery dates back pre-revolution. We got war heroes there from every war that's happened, you know, and these, we don't know who it was, we don't know how many it was. So someone or some persons, someone's went up into the graveyard and just knocked over some of the oldest stones we had. And just started smashing them. They were taking, the one that got me the most, children's stones. When a child dies, usually has a lamb on top of the stone. One of them was pulled out of the old section, and when I say the old section, that's by Doubleday Hill. They're some of the oldest we have that date back to Revolutionary times, and they smashed it on the road. So the only thing that survived was the lamb, but that we'll never get that stone back. We have no idea where it came from inside there or nothing, and it's like, and I don't understand why. And that's the most gut-wrenching part is there's lots of graveyards, and here and there, yes, you know, there's some terrible vandalism that happens to it, but it's like for some reason, this one, you know, this has happened like I believe it was 12 years ago. Somebody did it then, and it was tens of thousands in damage, and this one here is worse. It seems like every time they go to do it, they break it at worse, like you're trying to outdo the other people. And we got a really good thing going Friday with the Secretary of Public Safety. He's coming up, I believe the Lieutenant Governor is coming up, and we're doing a big to start repairing all these stones, which is fantastic. You know, so we're talking about not just the ones that were broken this time, but we're talking fixing the leaned over ones from previous years and straightening it all back up, because the graveyard, the ownership of the graveyard, Otha Holland Williams gave it to the town of Williamsport. So nobody's really sure. We created a trust for it, but nobody's really sure who's responsible for it. But the town of Williamsport, and I get that a lot too, people are like, well, you know, why do we take care of it if we don't get nothing out of it? I was like, we've always taken care of the graveyard and put everything we could into it. We have landscape crews that come from public safety and things, and it's just like, it's a valuable asset to have. I have an entire booklet that was just written by our museum board director that she had the research in it. It's phenomenal, the things that you find out, you know, after living in a town your whole life, and who's buried there, and you're finding out like what, and it's just the history to that. I mean, if you had a chance to come down Friday and witness, you know, this, we have people coming in to teach how to clean the stones, how to repair the stones. I mean, people are going to leave here knowing trades and stuff of that nature, which is, to me, that's another great thing about Williamsport.
Well, and looking at the Facebook posts, it looks like there's been a lot of positive reaction about trying to, how can I help? How can I be a part of it? Do you need money? Do you need help? Do you need manpower? I think that's just, again, that's another reason why you live in Williamsport or small towns like we find in Washington County.
They did. The whole community and state and everything had pulled together. We're getting donations, and somebody was saying, well, what do you, and it's like, so we're giving the donations to the Riverview Cemetery Trust. It's ran by Osborne Funeral Home, and it's like, you know, all those donations go to there. That trust makes no money any longer because nobody's getting buried in the cemetery. So they had to invest what little bit they had, and that's how we afford to get some of the lawnmowers, and they help us pay for this or that. And it's like, other than that, there's no money coming in. Another reason the town helps, because if we didn't, it would just turn into a briar patch.
Right.
And I commend you for speaking highly about your community, but I'll let you put a feather in your hat as well, because it could have went two different ways. You took a tragedy and turned it into an opportunity to unite the community. And if you had went the other way about finding who did it and pointing fingers or, you know, lending that voice to anger, you could have divided the community. So seeing the community kind of rally together behind this tragedy and taking even more pride in their community, it's a win, and that takes strong leadership as well.
Yeah, we were hoping through this that we can create more of that with some of the younger people in town coming up, helping learn how to fix these, how to take care of them, and creating like a bond with them with the cemetery. I mean, I made the comment to somebody, no one in my family's buried there, you know, but there's people I grew up with, their grandparents are buried there. So it holds the same symbol to me as if it was my own grandmother buried there. So we want everybody to, you know, let's fix this, let's take care of it, and make it look nice. And when and this is the best year, and I told somebody, the graveyard always takes a beating with, we didn't mow the grass quick enough. We didn't do, you know, and this was the first year everybody was like, it looks nice. We have a crew up there this year that has just busted, and it's the prettiest it's looked, and then we have this happen. It's like,
Terrence, I completely agree with what you said, but is there any of us at this table that wouldn't like to have those little reprobates caught and thrown in the slammer for a little while?
I agree.
we're asked about it, and the sheriff's department's still investigating it, you know, and it's like, well, they're doing their job, we're doing ours.
That's exactly right.
When the Secretary of Public Safety, Rob Green, when he called, Secretary Green, and he was like, I'd like to meet with you and discuss this.
And by the way, where does Mr. Green live?
In Williamsport.
Isn't that amazing?
Well, not yet in town limits.
No, I know
Not-
that.
not
He's
yet, but
not yet. Is
not
he on
yet.
the list too?
It's
So
on,
Rob and
you
I
know,
will be co-official
I
Williamsport.
don't know how you guys are going to deal with these more high-profile residents.
you know.
Well, Rob is certainly a lot more high profile than I.
Yes,
But,
he
he's a
walks
good guy.
through town every night, him and his wife.
Yeah,
And
and his
he-
son runs through town.
Yeah.
His son is quite the athlete.
He is.
Well, yeah, and let's touch on that for a minute. We're headed into fall sports. So if I was in Williamsport, what games would I see you attend, if any, in your
Well,
schedule?
actually, this year, that's funny you asked that one. I've tried several times, but I finally got agreement that I am buying passes for all the town employees and council to see every game at Williamsport.
Nice.
Nice.
You know, because we've tried to be at every one of them. Usually you can find me at the soccer games because my sons play.
Yes.
I do show up at the football games and try to sit and just enjoy a nice soda and watch our little Wildcat juniors play and stuff. And it's like, I've done it. A lot of little league games I go to, but I was trying for a long time of like, why do we never really go as a group or have more?
Yes.
And I met with the president of the athletics club, and I was talking to her about my issue. And she just sent me a message yesterday that said, yes, we're going to let you buy these passes. And I'm like, well, there you go. So now you'll see every council member at one of those games.
That's
That'll
nice.
be great.
That's
I'm
nice.
hoping to see as many as I can.
Well, with volleyball, my daughter is playing at North, so I will definitely be there for volleyball.
Okay, so I'll
and
see
that
you there.
rivalry is pretty intense between
Yeah.
those two schools. So
It is. You know, you'll lose, but
I was going to say the same thing. We have
we can talk about a little wager about that after the show. I think we can work something
we have
out.
quite a history with volleyball in Williamsport. Let's
Yeah,
just say
yeah.
that. I don't know how many state championships Williamsport has won, but it is impressive.
it is. It's all picking, and we're looking forward to it. I was really excited when I got that yesterday.
So we will apologize in advance for your loss.
This is going to be a rough year for you. I'm letting the world know right now. North is loaded. I'm just letting you know.
Okay.
And the stable is long from here on out for a while. So
All right.
Well, I just want to piggyback on that real quick because I think that what we miss on that too is, you know, a lot of small communities have brain drain, right? They, you know, the kids they go off to college and they don't come back home.
Right.
They don't become the business owners. They don't become part of the business professionals that tax base and kind of bring tradition into the next generation. So for your presence to be there at an early age in supporting them, to see their community supporting them in that way, do you think that's going to help with some of the brain drain?
I do. Especially with our high school kids, because you're 100% correct. Same as I did. You grow up, you moved out. You know,
You're gone.
I needed to get back. A lot of people won't. You know, and how do you bring them back? And a lot of it is connection with even the government of Williamsport, as small as it is, with our council. When I go to the If I Were Mayor essays with the elementary school kids, and it's funny because that started 4 years ago when I first became mayor, and some of those kids are now in middle school. And then they come on, hey, I remember when you know, and we sit and we talk, and it's like, you know, these kids, they actually feel part of the town. Did you all? And it's like, yeah, we actually did take care of that. Thanks for asking. And then they want to know, and I get that a lot from middle school kids. They want to know what we're doing. You know, like Hagerstown now is doing a skate park. So
Yes.
I've been getting, hey, it's like, no, go to Hagerstown. I don't understand. you know, but it's like they want to know what else we're doing. It's like we do a lot, like you were saying, with the repetitive Every Friday we do a pop-up food truck, but only one, and we get a little slack. Why don't you have two? Why don't you have three? And it's like, well, next week will be another one, but at least it's every Friday we have
It
one
is.
that comes.
Yeah.
And we try to stick to that, so you do know what you're doing Friday. We have an empty lot that is owned by a nice young man. He had bought the lot there. I won't mention his name either. And he lets us use the lot to put picnic tables on for people to sit in there and eat at. And the only problem with the whole area there is the truck traffic, which has always been a big problem in Williamsport. And that's why I always push my wish list, move that Route 11 bridge to get the trucks so they don't have to come
That's
through
not a
town
small
anymore.
investment.
It's not, but the bridge needs replaced anyway. So the state has said it's sinking, and I suggested instead of building beside it, just turn it a little bit and build it towards the Tannery Way
Yeah,
down on Fenton Avenue.
that makes sense.
Got it. Mayor Green, we're going to keep you here for another segment, and we have a
Okay.
few more follow-up questions for you.
Mm.
Next up, more with Mayor Bill Green after the break.
Did you know that Wi-Fi connects multiple devices in your home? So go ahead. Surf, game, or simply watch your favorite shows and movies anywhere in the house on any device. With Wi-Fi, your house becomes a high-tech home.
Unleash the internet in your home with Antietam Ultra Wireless Home Network. With speeds up to 1 gig, your whole family can surf together faster. We make it easy with our hassle-free professional installation. Call Antietam Broadband today and add a Wi-Fi modem free for 60 days.
Welcome back. We're still joined by Mayor Bill Green. Bill, thank you for staying with us.
Thanks for keeping me here.
Jim, you got the first shot at this segment.
Okay, wow. Well, you hit me by surprise here. Let's talk about this weekend and C&O Canal Days.
C&O Canal Days is this weekend. It's Saturday and Sunday. I think it's like 45 years now. It's a craft show that started 45 years ago to help showcase the canal in the town, and still running strong.
And I'm going to ask the question that Reggie's, I know, already thinking. What about the food situation?
We they will. They have food stands, and they'll have some food trucks show up there. And the Blue Band, of course, will be doing their food. I think it's chicken and things over in Pavilion 1.
Okay.
So
So
that'd be nice.
lots of food.
Lots of food. There's always
Lots
a lot
of
of
crafts.
food. Lots of crafts. A lot of nice, good people.
What
Yeah.
is is the attendance very good at that?
It's a few thousand every year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's probably pretty busy
You know,
for
well,
the
except for
little
last
park.
year. It was,
Right.
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
I'm sure.
but,
Well, that's great.
yeah.
I got introduced to Yogi Bear about 2 years ago. That brings in people from across the country.
Yeah.
Right? And so that, again, an amazing resource you have right in your backyard that you never think, you don't think of. And me having a big family, I was thinking about bringing my family out here because you can have a 16-room lodge that you can just put your family in, and they're right in the middle of nature, and they're right outside of the community, and they don't have to stay with me. So I think so they can barbecue and do everything out there and don't mess up my home. But how do you capitalize on those visiting into the community in Yogi Bear that's setting up RVs, that are camping, that are hiking right in your backyard there?
What we try to do is put out information, brochures and things that they keep out there, because Yogi Bear is outside of our town limits.
Right.
So we can't just go out to that area, but we give them the brochures. We put up what we're going to be doing, what's going on in town, what's going on around. They do very well in that area of getting that information out and bringing those people down into town.
It's a great partnership.
And of course, if these new businesses that you talked about that are looking, or the ones that have already purchased property and are looking for a tenant,
Well,
again, I would love to see another restaurant and some other.
my fingers are crossed. We have a couple that are like right on the verge of coming in. It's like, and I'm just unable to say what's going on with it.
Well, no, I
Yeah.
get that.
So how's your recruiting look? Are you going out and bringing people in, or are the phones just ringing off the hook right now?
We have an excellent Main Street director. She's Catherine has just done amazing things with that. We started our Main Street from scratch, and we've been very baby stepping with it. And she's just phenomenal with making that work. And she gets it out there. She does receive calls just about every time she's in the office on what's available, any space available, and we have a lot of that to filter. Going out and going after them, it doesn't seem now. They're coming to us, and the people that own the buildings, like the few right now that are being remodeled, she's gone after those people and has put out, this is what we'd like to see here, this is what we'd like to see here. And it's been really working well for the whole community.
And how does that support Main Street funding? Because I know there's some, some allocated dollars that actually go into productive Main Streets or supporting. I believe it should be more, but but how does that work?
I think Main Street itself in the state only has $400,000 in funding. So there's not a lot there. So we use town resources, and Catherine, like I was saying, she's perfect at it. She does so much more than what we can even afford.
She's
her
a deal
to
maker.
do. Yeah, she
for
is.
Sure.
And she does a lot on her own time and spare time, and she gets a hold of me and she's like, what do you think? And she is a rule sticker. Like you can't, she won't let you get around the corner, but everything is just perfect with it.
Yeah, that's great.
I couldn't ask for more Main Street. We're looking right now for an assistant with it to kind of help her, because she's now going into circuit riding and she's our grant writer. So we need to bring in somebody that can learn and support and still jive with her so that it keeps going the direction it's been going. Because as a council, we've sat down and said we like the direction we're going and we want to stay on that. So they're trying not to get any derailing at all. It's very important to keep moving this direction.
And I know she led SCORE for a number of years as well, so she has that kind of connection with small businesses and not only just bringing them in, but helping them develop.
Yeah, she's good at it, and when she gets her mind on it and she gets a grip of it, she sees it the whole way through, and she brings so much to the table when she comes. She's an asset for the town, and I've said that a lot to her and to other people about her. I was like, so I get mixed reviews, and I'm like, well, why don't you just sit down with her for 10 minutes? Hold a conversation with Catherine. For anybody who's ever done it, you walk away with, wow.
Right.
I mean, yeah, she's phenomenal.
Well, and the other thing is, and one of the important things with any type of development effort is having contacts. And she has got quite a significant Rolodex. I know
she's
that's
got
a
a
dated
book.
term, but
Yeah.
she's got quite a Rolodex that she carries with her.
She does. She's very well connected, and she does a great job. All of our staff does. I mean, everybody that we have working, we're small. I was just today holding a conversation with our administrator assistant, and I was telling her, I was like, well, we're like a tight family. The four of us, we get on. We get on each other's nerves. We have bad days, but we're all still focused the same way we were 4 years ago.
Focused on the goal.
Yeah, and everybody is still Williamsport the whole way, and that's important.
How has the canal headquarters impacted foot traffic? Have you seen a positive increase there? Have you seen those people maybe frequenting other services that are available in the town?
As far as the workers go,
Yeah.
yes. I just today I was watching a park ranger or a park employee, I'm not sure, going up to the street for a haircut, and I've seen them in Desert Rose, and you are seeing them around now more. I mean, the building down there is phenomenal looking. They did a great job with that building and the whole area. And people are going, visitors are just going by to see. It's a new building. They want to see it. They want to see in it, and walk around it. And it's noticeable. It's an important building by the way it looks. And their employees are circling through town now. They're on foot. They're walking around, and that's what we were hoping for.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll bring the eatery places. The more office buildings we can get in like that, and things of that nature, because that's how you get a lunch place in. That's,
Yeah.
that's how it
Do you
happens.
know how many employees work there on a regular basis?
I think right now, because of COVID, they're like split in shifts.
Right.
It's usually like 73 when they're all there, but during the day it's only like 4 or 5 on this time and 4 or 5 here, and they're still split apart. And I think they just went back under full mask mandates in that building. So once again, they're probably telemarketing before the end of the week.
Yeah.
And I know they actually
Teleworking, sorry.
They just stole one of my employees recently, who moved from AmeriCorp and is now working with the Parks Department. And one of the first things they did was they called and said, you know what, we want to partner and bring programs into the community. And the suggestion was, how do you build accessibility and diversity and bring more people into the town that may not be able to drive into Williamsport or get to the canal, that may be whether it's in the school systems. And they listed a number of programs that the Parks Department is actually working with the school system and across Washington County to the standpoint to bring in and create access and exposure to the parks as well.
Yeah, they are. They have a great school program. I think every 4th grader in Washington County goes to the park. They go and pick them up. I believe there was some talk about they've branched out into the Berkeley, West Virginia, over in Fallen Waters, talking to those school systems, trying to incorporate the same thing. Yeah, they have some wonderful programs for those type of things, and they do bring people in. It's a little hard right now if you're in Williamsport to get to the canal because you got to go up the steps, to get across.
Is that going to change?
Hopefully, yes. I'm sure it will. When I have no idea. They have so many people looking at it and so many engineers working on it. Right now, Salisbury Street runs down to the river bottom,
Right.
and that's the easiest road access up and around that's being used. And we have the town took over Powerhouse Road, so we have another road further down below the lock, and then you have the lock also grants a good access. So as soon as people learn where these accesses are, and the more publicly we can make it known, like you're not just at the lift bridge. You
Right.
can
Yeah,
go up these other
we were
routes.
down. I was walking with my son one morning, and I saw an older person who was having some difficulty, and mentioned that if she went down the street and parked there, she wouldn't have to deal with the.
I've done that to a few people. I've seen them been like, because I'll climb the steps up. I like the views and stuff, but I'll say, they'll be out of breath. And it's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
if you'd have just parked. And you're starting to go down that way. We call it the sand hole, that area where the lock is, lock 44. And as we walk down that way, you can see more and more people are parking there now.
Yeah.
And it's loading up. And they're catching on. Same as Powerhouse Road off of Lockwood.
But that Cushwall,
That will always be the hot spot.
it will, and it hopefully they'll be able to find a way around.
I'm sure
that.
they'll figure it out. They'll get to it. It's just a matter of, when you get to historic properties, there's only you got to go through all the red tape there. I'm sure they're going to get it.
Now, COVID was difficult for all communities, but when it comes to CARES Act funding, how's your town been able to benefit from what you received there?
Well, we were able to have some money for the businesses that were struggling. We were able to get that to them to pull them out of their holes. As far as the town itself, we just got the ARP money, the America's Recovery money. I believe we were given $1,030,000. So that'll go towards our water projects and help finish those things off. We have still a lot of lead-lined water lines that we have to fix. The money, the benefit to us with that is it is giving us that little crutch as we get moving, because we did lose a lot of revenue. Where everybody's like, in the town of Williamsport, we haven't done anything with taxes in years. We haven't raised services. Like I was saying, it's $13.75 for garbage. So we try to run the same services on the same amount of money from 50 years ago, and we're losing that battle. Our budget's getting smaller and smaller. So that money, we do all these events, like not so much the food truck, but like canal days and bike night and things of that nature to bring money into the town, the fireworks. Because when you come into town, you're spending your money there, and in turn it comes back to the town, and then we put it back into everything around there. So when COVID hit, without all our events through the year, we lost about $73,000 in revenue just on events that we hold.
Wow.
So that was a major hit.
Yes.
And then you had businesses that just couldn't do half of what they normally do. You had residents that they couldn't afford the bills that they were having to afford to pay, and all of that is town funding that we weren't getting. So that money that came in is able to regenerate that back. We were able to put a lot back in from the electric and get some nice things out
Now,
of it.
with you trying to hold things neutral in regards to the services and that dollar being able to service less, do you see that you may have to go to the taxpayers where you may need to increase taxes in the future?
Or annex out.
There you go.
I'm getting my checkbook out.
Just want to kick that out there again, but yeah, we as a
It's a balancing
council,
act,
it
right?
is because you sit there and I sit with an accountant 3 times a week, and I get the whole, do you see, and I'm like, yes, but what if we, and we're working around it. It's a slow process. I made the comment my first term that I pity whoever gets mayor the next term because the budget and the funding.
And lo and behold, it's you.
And I sat there the other day and I said, the next mayor's really going. And I was like, yeah. So it's going to be fun to see how we get through it. You know, the CARES Act money and the America's Recovery is going to get us through now.
Right.
But yeah, eventually we're going to be right back where we were during this, where you don't want to raise these things up. You know, like I use the garbage a lot as an example because most places are like $25, $35 a month. I mean, we're like 12
It's
and
more
13
than that.
under. Right.
Yeah, I think because they charge you a you know, some kind of gas surcharge or whatever. I think my bill's like $102 a quarter.
Yeah.
So that's
it's pretty high, and we sit there and we say, well, if you did, you know, where would you put $2 more a month or 3 more, and what impact would that have in the long run?
Yeah.
And I told somebody one day, one of the things I love most about Williamsport is if you tell people what's going on, and you let them know what you're looking at, they do pull together. I mean, I sat the other day. We've closed the pool a couple times this week because of rain, and some nasty grams were sent about it always. And I just put out how much we pay the 6 lifeguards that are on duty that day, and how much these 5 people or 10 people paid to get in, and the deficit there. And once
Right.
once you let out there, people were like, well, yeah, you know, they just, and it's like, yeah, we don't do things because, you know, we don't cancel it or close it because we're mean and horrible people.
No, you just got to be good stewards.
Yeah, and
Right.
it's the stewardship of the funding that you know, people look at the bottom line. They always, like I did when I was on council, you know, you followed where the dollar went, and they want to know, and they have the right to know. And my mother's the #1 critic on me with that one. She's like, what did I give you? What did I pay that for? And then
So I was just doing the numbers in my head. If I'm right here, you said about $14 a month for trash.
yeah,
Thinking about your savings.
No, I'm thinking about the fact that to buy a dump sticker is $150 a year, which is $12.50. So for an extra 50 cents, I don't have to carry my stuff to the dump.
You don't
if
have to
I'm
do it
in-
yourself.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
Williamsport. Before we go,
and you get bulk pickup.
there you go. Before we go, tell us again the hours for Canal, for the Sino Canal
Oh, for
Days.
Sino Canal Days, 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. I believe Saturday and Sunday. I want to say it was like 11 to 6, but I probably got that completely wrong.
Okay. Is there a place where people can go and?
There is on Williamsport town page and on our Facebook page.
Okay,
The information's all there. Should be up 100% perfect tomorrow.
Excellent.
We're, like I was saying, we're small. There's 4 people in the office and 4 guys outside. You know, and I'm in there. A lot of times I take people's bills too. It is a pitch in, everybody, all hands on deck. We're small, and I get a lot of slack for not keeping up on the Facebook pages and stuff. You know, and I'm like, have you seen, you know, and
So you don't have a media team.
no.
Yeah, he's it.
Yeah, we are the media team. You know, and I told somebody, and it's really great because Catherine, she is fantastic at that.
Oh, yeah,
she
she
got in there. I
is.
was like, would you mind helping us with some of the Facebook pages? And she was like, sure. And then when I made her admin, it was like 4 of them. She did and she's kept up with it. And our admin assistant, she's kept up on her end of it. You know, and our town manager, he'll do things, and then I'll put things up. And we all jump in there. We have a few volunteers from in town that help us out, and it's like it just works, you know. And we get that hire more people thing, and it's like,
Right.
and you know, the only way to hire more people is to create a bigger budget.
Right.
And there's only so many ways you can create a bigger budget.
Staying close to it keeps it sincere as well. So it doesn't seem, you know, artificial. It's really
It's it's
connected.
real. Yeah, you know, yeah, and our people. They'll come in, and sure, some people, I tell the girls in the office, you know, just smile. Everybody's entitled to a bad day, and you can't make everybody happy, but not everybody needs to be mad either. So, you know, we
Doesn't
do
cost any extra to smile.
No,
Not at
and
all.
just nod, and they do. They do, you know, that's the way it goes.
Excellent. Well, Mayor Green, we appreciate having you.
Thank you. It's great being here.
We'll be connecting and talking soon because we have some bets on the line in regards to
I'll bring you
North
some.
and Wildcat volleyball.
I'll bring you some tissues.
Yeah, okay. Fair
I'll
enough.
bring a box for him too.
All right, next up, Fast Five. Stay with us.
Did you know Antietam Broadband offers an affordable, reliable home phone solution? Get unlimited local and U.S. long distance, plus call waiting, caller ID, voicemail, and more. Switching your home phone service to Antietam is easy, and you can keep your same number. Antietam Broadband, the reliable choice. Make the switch and start saving today. Add home phone service from Antietam Broadband. Call 301-797-5000 today.
If you love me enough to tolerate my perfect little pets and all their glorious dander, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
Welcome to Fast Five. First topic up, Maryland small businesses must watch out for ADA virtual by lawsuits. Terrence, what say you?
You know, the article really speaks to individuals that they call ADA testers or ADA shakedown artists, or individuals that are actually going out with disabilities who are really like a secret shopper, kind of, and making sure that everyone's ADA compliant in there, and when they're not, they're filing lawsuits, and it's hurting businesses. I do believe that every business should comply with being ADA compliant, because is there for a reason. You know, they're people with disabilities, and they should be provided with the accommodations and the services that the law, entitles them to, and that they're entitled to as citizens and constituents. But at the same time, as a business owner, you don't want to be on the back end of gotcha, all the time as well, and being held accountable. And I think that you should have some remediation time, but not find yourself in lawsuits every time that that you've been out of compliance. So,
Jim.
Yeah, this was kind of a surprising piece to me, although, I guess this is just another way to make money, and we know that we live in a very litigious society. I have a problem with this. I have a big problem. I think these are people capitalizing, and I agree with you 100%. Businesses should make accommodations, let me use the legal term, reasonable accommodations. There are some facilities where that is just not possible. If you have a historic facility, if you want to go to Crystal Grottoes, my guess is a wheelchair is not going to work well in a cave.
Right.
And there's probably not a whole lot, and that's an extreme example, but there's other examples like this. And I think that these people are not doing this out of a want to make sure that things are accessible for those in our population that have those physical challenges. I think they're doing it as a method to personally profit, and I think that's wrong.
Well, I can tell you about a little log cabin that's become kind of famous that's not ADA accessible either, because I have a few scrapes on my head from entering in and out of that property.
And I mean, without destroying its historical value, could it be? No. I remember way back when in the old YMCA, and this was many years ago, that there was a big thing, and the YMCA ended up spending, I want to say, $100,000 at the time, and this was back in the 80s, 90s, to put an elevator in. And don't quote me on the numbers, but the point is, it was a significant issue, and they had to, postpone some other needed maintenance items and so forth to accommodate this, and it was basically because one person couldn't understand that it was a historic building, and they made accommodations to the first floor, but they were having trouble with the upper floors.
Right.
and I think my also the biggest drawback is you dilute the real message, of that, of accessibility, so now, when there is a true reason to push forward, the people who are doing so are now looked upon as bad actors,
right,
because others have manipulated or taken advantage of the system. Again, I believe every reasonable accommodations, I agree. But let's stay focused and have laws that make sense and not just hold everyone to the letter of the law and create a bigger issue.
Agreed.
Well, and I think the other piece that was brought up in the article is this pits the businesses. It gives them, a lot of these businesses want to comply, but this pits the businesses against the disabled community and creates something that shouldn't be there.
Agreed.
Yeah. Yep. Next topic. Maryland adds 22,000 jobs in July, and unemployment decreased to 6%. Jim, what say you?
Yeah, I mean, good numbers. When is the shoe going to drop? We've had
September, October.
Yeah, we've had what 7-8 years of positive economic growth. Several years, with the exception of a couple of months there in COVID, several years of just unbelievable economic growth. The economy is cyclical. When, not if, when a recession occurs, what is the impact? I still have great concerns that we are living in the 2000 version of the Roaring Twenties, and we know what happened after the Roaring Twenties. I have great concerns, and I hope I'm absolutely wrong, and I'm not an economist, and it probably takes minds far smarter than mine to predict what's going to happen. But all I know is, we're due.
I think the numbers don't mean much. Think about it. What happened in July? Unemployment was supposed to be suspended in July as well before the lawsuits came and Governor Hogan extended it. So I think a lot of people were going back to work as well, and those jobs were opening back up again. So I think some of the things that were happening around COVID may have made some contributions to these numbers being, inflated in the month of July. But yet again, we're on the cusp of, increase of, COVID and hospitalizations for going into September. So numbers are almost doubling over the last month. So I don't know. Right now, I agree in Roaring Twenties that made sense, but we weren't in the midst of a pandemic. So none of these job numbers really make sense to me until we're back at a full speed.
Obviously with, COVID numbers up across the country, here in Western Maryland, we definitely have our challenges here. It'll be interesting to see where these job numbers are over the next few months. I still think that we're kind of in a wait and see situation. From a large global perspective, inflation is still a major concern, and how we're going to be able to navigate inflation with all the government dollars that we have pumped into the system. So we shall see. We shall see in regards to that.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Next topic, Mike McKay, running for state senate.
Yeah, and I think there's actually three interesting candidates to talk about here. I think we need to talk about Paul Quarterman, who's an incumbent.
Yes.
He was appointed as a result of. Let me see. Which seat did he fill? There have been so many. Was that Andy Serafini's?
Yes, he filled. He filled
Andy Serafini's. So we have Mike McKay, who's now a delegate.
Yes.
An incumbent delegate.
He's running for George Edwards' seat.
George Edwards' seat, and George is retiring. We have Jake Shade, I believe his name is, and Jake is he is president of the Allegheny County Commissioners
yes.
At this point. Very young man.
Yes.
And then, of course, we have our incumbent state senator, Paul Quarterman, who is also running for re-election.
Yes.
So my take on this is as follows. And I don't know a whole lot about Mike or Jake. My initial reaction, looking at their website, reviewing materials and information that they have provided, is that I see Mike as, if you like George Edwards, and I personally did, I think Mike is a natural next step. And here's why. I think that Mike is one of these people that believes, as I do, that you catch more flies with honey. He has his principles, and he's not willing to violate those principles to make a deal, but he's also not going to alienate.
Right.
When you have something that is maybe of interest to somebody, but maybe not, if you've been a jerk to them for the last 4 years, it's much more unlikely that they're going to support you, even if they might support you otherwise. And I think he has shown in his time as delegate, like some of the predecessors that he would be following, leading back even to Don Munson, who was, I think, famous for working across the aisle. Andy Serafini, when he retired, you remember the outpouring of love and respect,
yes.
Not from just his Republican Party, but from the Democratic Party,
yes.
Because he was a calm, rational, reasonable voice. And that's what I see in Mike McKay. I think he's got some interesting things that he's interested in. Dental health, for example, is something that he's very interested in. And there's a number of other things. If you look at his bills, I think he's had some interesting bills that he's presented. Same thing, quite frankly, with Paul Quarterman. I think Paul is a very good advocate for our community, and I think he's a very good advocate for our state, because there is a fine line you walk there as well. This county commission president, I don't know as much about him as I do looking at his website, I guess, and I'm interested in you guys' opinion as well, but I'm not seeing it. I see a young kind of, I hate to say the word cocky, but I'll use the word cocky. At least that's the way it comes off. I just don't see it.
I'll summarize all three really quickly. With Mike McKay, I think that if you're happy with the direction of your politics in that district, you're going to choose the safe option, which is Mike McKay. Jake Shade seems more like a flamethrower, and I think his politics are more suited for Florida than they are Western Maryland.
That's an interesting comment.
Just my thoughts there. In regards to Paul, he got a win in the final hour. In regards to the stadium, I think he's riding high off of that, and he probably will run unopposed.
Yeah. And by the way, the only two candidates on the Senate side at this point are Republicans.
Right, and that's what I was about to say. I think it's early. I was surprised some of the names that popped out so early in this race because of so much unknowns going on right now. And I agree with the assessment both of you have made. I would like to point out that also Delegate McKay is, he was an advocate for homelessness as well over the last year or more, because he was over that homelessness commission, and which we know is a rising issue. So I think he has his finger on the pulse of some things that we're going to really need some work across the area and across the region that may get him a little bit more traction as we get closer to Election Day.
Yeah, and Jim, as we're wrapping up, I'm going to let you take us out with thoughts in regards to Mr. Scott Paddock.
Yeah, so Scott, I've known Scott since we were both teenagers. He and I worked together at what used to be Long Meadow Cinemas. Scott passed away suddenly, unexpectedly, last weekend. And here's a guy that, in this age of relentless self-promotion, here's a guy that you couldn't go to dinner with him, you couldn't talk on the phone with him, you couldn't do anything where he wasn't advocating for one of the many causes that he felt very passionate about. But he never wanted to be in the limelight. He did his work in the dark, and he changed a lot of lives in this community, and he impacted a lot of children growing up in a positive way, and the things that he did either directly, because he'd stand at the rock wall as the Boy Scouts were climbing up and down, or indirectly by hitting up three of us at this table and others for money for Boy Scouts or whatever the case may be. And he played Santa Claus. How can you be? Scott's dad, Varner Paddock, was former mayor of Hagerstown. Scott never had an eye for politics, again, because I don't think he enjoyed the limelight. But there is no question that Scott was a patriot. Scott was an amazing human being, and this community is far better off with him having been a part of it.
Well said. Well, that is all the time that we have for tonight. We hope that you'll like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and send us your comments to feedback@theflipsidetv.com. That is feedback@theflipsidetv.com. Most importantly, we hope that you'll join us again next week for another episode of The Flip Side.
It's all good, baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.